The restaurant was one of the finest in the city, known not just for its expensive dishes but also for the people who came there. It was the kind of place where wealth and power could be seen in every corner, in the way the chandeliers glimmered, the way the chairs were polished, and in the polite but attentive staff. One afternoon, a new waitress started her first shift. She had been hired just a few days ago, but already she seemed calm and confident. Her steps were quick but careful, her voice soft yet polite when she spoke to customers, and there was a spark in her eyes that showed she noticed everything around her. Among the regular visitors that day was a very wealthy man. He was famous for his fortune, his business deals, and most of all, for his way of testing people. He enjoyed seeing how others thought and acted, especially those who worked in service. Some might call it curiosity. Others would call it pride. Today he had a plan. He had watched the new waitress move around the restaurant with grace and precision, and a thought crossed his mind. He wanted to see if she was as clever as she seemed. More than that, he wanted to challenge her, to see if she could be exposed, to see if she would falter when faced with something tricky. The afternoon was quiet, with only a few tables occupied. The air was filled with soft music and the occasional clinking of glasses. The waitress moved from table to table, taking orders and serving dishes with a smile. She did not rush, but she did not linger unnecessarily either. Everything she did seemed natural and easy. The wealthy man watched her from a corner, a small smile on his face. He had prepared a puzzle, something he considered difficult and clever. He knew it could embarrass someone who wasn't sharp. This was not just any puzzle. It was the kind of question that required quick thinking and clever reasoning. And today he thought the new waitress would be his test. When the right moment came, he waved her over. She approached without hesitation, carrying a tray with glasses of water, her posture professional and calm. He greeted her politely but with a hint of challenge in his eyes. "I have a question for you," he said, placing a hand on the table as if to underline the seriousness of his statement. "It is a little puzzle, and I want to see how you solve it." The waitress tilted her head slightly, listening carefully. She had learned that in places like this, some customers like to talk, some like to test, and some simply enjoyed attention. But she did not let herself feel nervous. Instead, she focused on the words and waited for him to continue. The wealthy man laid out his puzzle. He explained it slowly, making sure it was clear. He watched her face for any signs of hesitation, expecting a frown, a pause, or a confused look. But the waitress listened quietly, her expression neutral. She did not fidget. She did not glance around for help. She simply heard the puzzle, absorbed it, and waited for the right moment. He asked the question, and the restaurant seemed to grow quieter. Even the other staff noticed the interaction. It was unusual for a customer to present a puzzle to a server, and curiosity spread across the room. Some of the other waiters paused in their work to see how this would unfold. A few of the diners also watched, their meals momentarily forgotten, intrigued by the unusual scene. The waitress took a brief moment, not long enough to seem hesitant, but just enough to consider the problem. Her eyes moved slightly, scanning the table, the puzzle, and the man's expression. She weighed her options quickly. She was not going to be flustered by a trick question. She had learned in her life that cleverness was not about showing off, but about thinking clearly, staying calm, and trusting your mind. As she opened her mouth to answer, the wealthy man leaned back slightly, anticipating her response. He expected a stumble, a pause, perhaps even an incorrect guess. He had faced many people in his life, and most were caught off guard by such questions. But something in her calm demeanor made him pause for just a second. There was confidence there, not arrogance, just quiet assurance. She spoke, and her words were clear and direct. There was no hesitation, no unnecessary explanation. She gave her answer with confidence. The words seemed to fill the room, and for a moment, everyone held their breath. The staff and diners who had been watching quietly reacted with surprise. Some of them exchanged glances, impressed by the speed and accuracy of her answer. The wealthy man's expression changed. There was a flicker of disbelief, quickly followed by a realization. He had not expected this. He had thought he would expose her, But instead, she had answered so swiftly and correctly that it shook him. He leaned forward, studying her carefully. The way she had handled the question, the clarity of her thinking, the calmness under pressure, it was something he did not often see. The waitress stood straight, polite and composed, awaiting his response. She did not gloat. She did not smile triumphantly. She simply did her job of answering the puzzle honestly and correctly. It was a lesson in humility, not just for her, but for everyone in the room who had thought they knew what to expect. The wealthy man realized, in that moment, that intelligence and cleverness were not determined by wealth, status, or position. They could appear in the most unexpected places. As the tension in the room eased, the wealthy man nodded slightly. It was a subtle acknowledgement, but it carried weight. He had intended to test, to expose, but instead, he had learned something new. The waitress had demonstrated not just quick thinking, but also the importance of composure, humility, and confidence. These were qualities he respected deeply, even if he rarely admitted it aloud. The rest of the afternoon continued as usual, but the interaction had left its mark. Other customers returned to their meals, and the staff resumed their duties, but the story of the puzzle and the swift answer spread quietly among them. It became a small legend within the restaurant, a reminder that even in a place dominated by wealth and status, true skill and intelligence could shine through quietly and powerfully. And for the wealthy man, it was a moment he would not forget, a reminder that assumptions could be misleading, and that sometimes the smallest, quietest people could surprise even the most experienced and confident individuals. After the surprising interaction at the table, the restaurant continued its rhythm, but the air felt a little different. The wealthy man, who usually commanded attention just by being there, found himself watching the new waitress more closely than before. She moved among the tables with a quiet grace, taking orders, serving drinks, and cleaning up with careful attention. But now, there was something more in the way he observed her, curiosity and, perhaps, respect. He had expected her to struggle, to falter under his puzzle, but she had answered confidently and correctly. It was rare for him to encounter someone who could think so clearly and quickly, and it unsettled him in an unexpected way. The waitress noticed nothing unusual about the wealthy man's attention. She had learned early in her work that customers had different moods and behaviors. Some were kind, some impatient, and some liked to challenge those who served them. She had already faced difficult people before, but this interaction felt different, though she couldn't put her finger on it. She remained professional, smiling politely as she moved from table to table, making sure each guest felt cared for. Word of her quick answer began to spread among the staff. One of the more experienced waiters whispered to another, "Did you see that? She solved his puzzle in 10 seconds. The other shook their head, impressed. They had worked in the restaurant for years and had seen all kinds of people and situations, but this was unusual. It was not just the speed of her answer, but the calmness with which she delivered it. That combination made her stand out immediately. Meanwhile, the wealthy man's mind was racing. He had seen clever people before, of course, but most of them were in positions of power, business leaders, or advisors. Rarely did he see intelligence and composure displayed by someone in a position like hers. He wondered about her background, her experiences, and the kind of life that shaped someone capable of such quick reasoning. He realized that he had underestimated her based on her job, something he knew he did far too often. The thought made him slightly uncomfortable because he prided himself on being perceptive. Yet, in this moment, he admitted to himself that he had been wrong. The afternoon passed, and the restaurant began to fill with more customers. The bustling energy of people eating, laughing, and chatting created a lively environment. The waitress continued her work, handling multiple tables with ease. She took orders, served food, refilled drinks, and checked back to make sure everyone was satisfied. She did all of this while maintaining a sense of calm and patience. Even when a child spilled water on the floor, she quickly cleaned it up without a hint of frustration, showing her professionalism and grace under pressure. During a brief break, she stepped into the back room to gather supplies and catch her breath. Another staff member, who had been observing her all day, smiled warmly and said, "You handled that puzzle like a pro. I don't think I've ever seen anything like it." She smiled in return, grateful for the compliment but keeping the conversation brief. She knew the restaurant could be demanding, and there were always more tables to attend to, more customers to serve, and more challenges to face. Yet, in her heart, she felt a quiet pride in the small victory of the puzzle. It was a moment that reminded her of her own capabilities and intelligence, something she had often had to prove in different ways in her life. Back in the dining area, the wealthy man finally decided to approach her again. He had been silent for a while, thinking and analyzing, trying to understand what had impressed him so much. When he called her over, she walked calmly to his table, ready to listen and respond. He looked at her with a new kind of respect and said, "I have to admit, I didn't expect that. You surprised me." His tone was different now, less testing, less challenging, more sincere. The words were simple, but they carried weight. For someone like him, admitting that he had been wrong was not easy. She nodded politely and replied, "Thank you. I just tried to think carefully and give the right answer." Her response was humble, without any trace of arrogance. It was exactly what he had not expected. Many people, when praised, either became boastful or defensive, but she remained grounded. Her words and demeanor conveyed confidence without pride, a balance that few could maintain in such a situation. The wealthy man leaned back in his chair, observing her quietly. He realized that intelligence alone was not the only quality that impressed him. It was the combination of intelligence, composure, humility, and kindness. He had encountered smart people before, but often they lacked one of these elements, and it made them less admirable. This young woman had all of them, and she had displayed them naturally, without effort or pretense. As the day went on, the restaurant continued to see its usual flow of customers. The waitress handled everything with skill, and the wealthy man continued to watch, learning more about her with each passing moment. He noticed how she remembered orders without writing everything down, how she managed multiple tables efficiently, and how she remained patient with every guest, even when faced with small difficulties. It was clear that she had experience, intelligence, and a strong work ethic. It was rare to see someone excel so naturally in a demanding environment. By the evening, the restaurant was busy, with more guests coming in for dinner. The staff had adjusted to the rhythm of the day, but there was a sense of excitement in the air. Everyone had noticed the moment earlier with the puzzle, and it added a quiet energy to the place. Even some diners who had not witnessed it directly had heard whispers from other tables. There was a feeling that something unusual and impressive had happened, and it lingered throughout the restaurant. The wealthy man decided to try one more interaction. He called the waitress over again, not to challenge her this time, but to talk. He wanted to understand her better, to see the person behind the intelligence and calm demeanor. She approached, as always professional, ready to listen and respond. He asked her simple questions about her work, her experience, and what she enjoyed most about her job. She answered thoughtfully, showing insight and perspective that went beyond her role as a waitress. Her answers revealed a person who was observant, caring, and practical. She thought not just about herself, but also about how her actions affected others, whether customers or colleagues. The wealthy man listened intently, realizing that this brief conversation was more revealing than any puzzle could ever be. He saw qualities in her that were rare and valuable: sharp thinking, patience, humility, and empathy. He felt a deep respect for her, and for the first time in a long while, he recognized that the most interesting and capable people were not always in positions of power. Some of the most remarkable individuals were quietly proving themselves in ordinary jobs, facing everyday challenges with intelligence and grace. As the evening wore on, the staff began to prepare for closing, cleaning tables and organizing the restaurant for the next day. The waitress finished her shift with the same composure she had shown all day. The wealthy man left a generous tip, a silent acknowledgement of her skill and poise. He walked out with a new perspective, thinking about how he had underestimated people before, and how much he had learned from someone he initially thought he could test and expose. It was a lesson he would not forget. That day became a turning point, not just for the wealthy man but for the waitress as well. She realized that her calmness, intelligence, and humility could have an impact even in unexpected ways. The restaurant, its customers, and even the wealthy man had witnessed a moment that would be remembered for a long time. It was a reminder that true capability and character could appear in the simplest acts and in the most ordinary roles, and that respecting everyone's abilities, regardless of their position, could lead to surprising and valuable lessons. The next day, the restaurant buzzed with life as usual. Customers filled the tables, chatting, laughing, and enjoying their meals. The staff moved quickly and efficiently, managing orders and serving dishes with practiced ease. The new waitress returned for her shift, her steps calm and confident. She greeted the regulars with a warm smile and attended to new customers with careful attention. There was a quiet determination in her movements, a focus that allowed her to manage the fast-paced environment without showing stress or anxiety. The wealthy man arrived again, as he often did. This time, he did not come to challenge anyone but to have lunch and observe. His eyes immediately found the waitress as she moved between tables. He remembered her clever answer from yesterday and the composure she had shown. It was rare for him to encounter someone who handled both intellect and humility so gracefully. He watched her from his corner seat, noticing the small details in her behavior. The way she remembered orders without needing to write them down, how she interacted politely with even the most demanding customers, and how she managed to remain calm in a crowded, noisy environment. He decided to test her again, but not with a puzzle. This time, he wanted to see how she handled an unexpected situation. As the waitress approached his table to take his order, he asked a question that required quick thinking, but it was more practical than a riddle. He described a problem he had experienced recently with a confusing menu item and asked her what she would suggest as a solution. The question was tricky because it required understanding not just the menu but the preferences of different types of customers. The waitress listened carefully, her head slightly tilted, showing that she was considering the problem seriously. She did not rush to answer, but her calm demeanor reassured him that she was thinking clearly. Within moments, she gave a suggestion that was both practical and thoughtful. She explained her reasoning simply, showing how it could help both the staff and the customers. Her answer was clear, concise, and effective. The wealthy man was impressed. He leaned back in his chair, smiling slightly, realizing that he was beginning to respect her even more. She was not just intelligent. She was capable of applying her knowledge in real-life situations. This was a different kind of cleverness, one that he valued highly. He noticed that other staff members had paused briefly to watch the interaction. Their expressions mirrored his own surprise and admiration. This young waitress had a natural talent that went beyond simply following instructions. She could think critically and act wisely under pressure. After taking his order, the waitress continued her work, moving swiftly between tables. The restaurant was busy now, and she managed each table with careful attention, remembering the small details for each customer. She refilled drinks, cleared plates, and offered a friendly word to every guest. Despite the demanding pace, she maintained her composure, never appearing flustered or hurried. Even when a customer complained about a minor delay, she handled it politely and professionally, turning a potentially negative situation into a positive experience. The wealthy man continued to observe her, intrigued by her ability to remain composed and effective in a challenging environment. He had seen many employees in his life, but few had combined intelligence, calmness, and empathy so naturally. It was clear to him that she had a strong character and a sharp mind. He found himself wondering how someone like her had developed these qualities. Was it experience, natural talent, or a combination of both? Whatever the answer, he knew that her presence had changed the way he viewed people in service roles. During a quiet moment, he called her over to his table again, curious to learn more about her. She approached with her usual polite smile, ready to respond. He asked her about her experience working in the restaurant, how she learned to handle difficult situations, and what motivated her to remain so composed. She answered thoughtfully, explaining that she had faced challenges in her life that taught her patience, resilience, and problem-solving skills. Her words were simple, but they carried depth and insight. It was clear that she had learned valuable lessons from her experiences and had applied them in her work. The wealthy man listened attentively, realizing that he was learning as much from her as he had expected to teach. He reflected on his own life, the challenges he faced in business, and how often he underestimated people based on appearances. She had shown him that true capability and intelligence were not determined by wealth, status, or position, could be found in anyone, regardless of their role or background. As the day progressed, a few unexpected situations arose in the restaurant. A large group of customers arrived, creating a sudden rush of orders and demands. The staff began to feel the pressure, moving quickly to keep up with the pace. The new waitress, however, remained calm. She coordinated with her colleagues, helped manage the orders, and ensured that each table received attention. Her ability to handle the situation efficiently impressed both the staff and the customers. Even the wealthy man, who had seen many busy environments in his life, was amazed by her poise and effectiveness. Later, when the lunch rush began to slow, the wealthy man requested a word with her privately. She approached, curious but composed. He complimented her on her ability to handle the morning's challenges and expressed admiration for her quick thinking, calm demeanor, and professionalism. She thanked him politely, acknowledging the compliment but without any hint of arrogance. Her humility made the praise feel earned and genuine. The wealthy man realized that he had underestimated her at first. He had intended to test and perhaps expose her, but she had surpassed his expectations in every way. Her intelligence, problem-solving skills, and composure had not only impressed him but had also made him reconsider his assumptions about people based on their roles. He began to understand that true talent could appear in unexpected places, and that respecting and valuing people for their abilities could lead to meaningful insights and experiences. As the day ended and the restaurant began to close, the staff cleaned up and prepared for the next day. The waitress finished her shift, her movements calm and confident, reflecting the same dedication and care she had shown throughout the day. The wealthy man left a generous tip, a silent acknowledgement of her exceptional work and the lessons she had taught him without even trying. He walked away with a newfound respect and a reminder that intelligence, humility, and resilience could be found in anyone, and that these qualities could shine in the most ordinary settings. The story of the day's events began to circulate quietly among the staff. Her quick thinking, composure, and professionalism became a point of admiration and inspiration. It was a reminder that skill and character could make a difference in unexpected ways, and that respect and acknowledgement were valuable in every role. For the wealthy man, it was a lesson that he would carry forward. A lesson in humility, observation, and the quiet power of intelligence combined with kindness. For the waitress, it was another step in her journey, a confirmation that her abilities and values could create a lasting impact even in ordinary places. The day ended with a sense of accomplishment, learning, and mutual respect, setting the stage for the next chapter of their unexpected connection. The following morning, the restaurant opened with its usual energy, and the staff moved efficiently to prepare for the day ahead. The new waitress arrived early, ready to start her shift. She had become more confident after the events of the past 2 days, though she carried herself with the same humility and professionalism. The other staff members greeted her warmly, some offering quiet words of admiration for how she had handled the wealthy man's puzzle and subsequent interactions. She acknowledged their comments with a modest smile, focusing on her work while appreciating their recognition. The wealthy man arrived shortly after the restaurant opened. He was an early visitor that day, and his presence immediately caught the attention of the staff. He walked in with the same calm confidence he always carried, but there was a new sense of curiosity in his eyes. He wanted to see how the waitress would handle a day that might test her in more subtle ways, without directly presenting a puzzle or question. He observed quietly from his usual corner, watching how she interacted with customers and staff alike. As the morning progressed, the restaurant began to fill with a diverse group of patrons. Some were regulars, familiar with the menu and staff, while others were first-time visitors, curious about the atmosphere and the food. The waitress moved between the tables with precision, taking orders and attending to the smallest details. She remembered preferences from previous visits, anticipated needs before they were requested, and handled each table with care. Even when a customer asked a complicated question about a dish or requested a special modification, she responded calmly and accurately, demonstrating knowledge and empathy. The wealthy man noticed a small child spill juice on the floor near another table. Many waiters would have panicked or reacted hastily, but the waitress approached the situation calmly. She reassured the child with a gentle tone, cleaned up the mess efficiently, and ensured the surrounding area was safe. The parents thanked her, and she simply smiled and returned to her duties, never making a show of her actions. The wealthy man leaned back, impressed by her ability to handle minor crises with both efficiency and grace. Around midday, a particularly demanding customer arrived. The customer had specific dietary requests, asked numerous questions about ingredients, and seemed to test the patience of anyone who served him. Most staff members would have felt pressure, but the waitress approached the table with her usual calm and professional demeanor. She listened carefully to each request, repeated them back to ensure accuracy, and offered thoughtful suggestions when needed. The customer's demeanor softened as he realized he was being heard and understood. By the time the order was taken, the customer was not just satisfied but impressed by the careful attention given to their needs. The wealthy man continued to observe quietly, noting every detail of her interaction with customers. He was learning something deeper than just her ability to answer a puzzle. He was witnessing her character in action. Intelligence alone could not have handled these situations so smoothly. What impressed him most was her combination of patience, empathy, and professionalism. These qualities, paired with her calm confidence, created an atmosphere that elevated the restaurant service beyond the ordinary. Later, a sudden problem arose in the kitchen. An order had been miscommunicated, and the chef was frustrated. The staff began to feel tension, unsure how to resolve the issue without upsetting the customers. The waitress noticed the problem and stepped in calmly. She spoke to the chef and the other staff, helping to reorganize the orders and prioritize the most urgent dishes. She communicated with the customers affected, apologizing for the delay and ensuring them that their meals would be served promptly. The tension in the restaurant eased, and the workflow returned to normal. The wealthy man watched in quiet admiration, recognizing that she not only handled customers well but could manage behind-the-scenes challenges with clarity and composure. As the afternoon wore on, the restaurant grew busier, and the pace became more demanding. The waitress maintained her focus, attending to each table with care, managing the flow of orders, and keeping a watchful eye on her colleagues to assist where needed. She seemed to move effortlessly through the crowded space, coordinating tasks, solving problems, and keeping a calm presence. Customers noticed and complimented her professionalism, some asking for her by name. She acknowledged their praise with a modest smile, never allowing the attention to distract her from her responsibilities. The wealthy man decided it was time to speak with her again, not to challenge her, but to understand her better. When she approached his table, he began by complimenting her for handling the busy morning with grace and efficiency. She thanked him politely, but he could tell she was genuinely focused on her work rather than seeking recognition. He asked her about her approach to challenges, how she remained calm in stressful situations, and what motivated her to do her job with such care and thoughtfulness. She spoke simply, explaining that she valued doing her work well, treating people with respect, and staying focused even when the day became hectic. Her answers were grounded, honest, and insightful, reflecting a maturity beyond her years. The wealthy man found himself reflecting on his own approach to people and business. He realized that he had often judged individuals by their roles rather than their capabilities. He saw that this young waitress possessed qualities that could not be measured by titles, positions, or social status. Her intelligence, patience, and empathy created real value, and he recognized that he had been wrong to assume she could be easily tested or exposed. Later in the day, an unexpected event tested the restaurant once again. A large party arrived with special requirements and a tight schedule. The staff felt the pressure immediately, and the restaurant became a whirlwind of orders, requests, and coordination. The waitress stepped into the situation without hesitation. She organized the tables, communicated clearly with both the kitchen and the staff, and ensured that the guests' needs were met efficiently. She handled questions, unexpected changes, and minor issues with calm professionalism. Her leadership and quick thinking allowed the team to perform well under pressure, and the party left satisfied and impressed. The wealthy man observed quietly, realizing that her ability to manage these challenges went far beyond simple intelligence. She combined knowledge, empathy, composure, and initiative in a way that made her indispensable. He admired her not just for solving puzzles or answering questions quickly, but for the way she handled real-life situations with thoughtfulness and skill. It was clear that her character and approach had a lasting impact on those around her, from staff members to customers. As the evening approached, the restaurant began to wind down. The staff worked to clean tables, organize supplies, and prepare for the next day. The waitress completed her shift with the same calm and composed manner she had shown throughout the day. The wealthy man left another generous tip, a silent acknowledgement of her exceptional work and the lessons she had taught him. He walked away reflecting on the day, reminded that intelligence and capability could be found in unexpected places, and that humility, patience, and empathy were as important as cleverness. The events of the day were discussed quietly among the staff after closing. Her ability to handle challenges, maintain composure, and treat everyone with respect became a point of admiration and inspiration. The wealthy man had witnessed not only her intelligence but her character, and he realized that respect for people should always be based on their qualities rather than their position. For the waitress, it was another step in her journey, reinforcing that her approach to life, work, and interactions could leave a lasting impression even in ordinary settings. The day ended with a sense of accomplishment, learning, and mutual respect, preparing the stage for the final part of this remarkable story. The next morning, the restaurant opened with its usual energy, but there was a sense of anticipation in the air. The staff had been talking quietly about the previous days and the remarkable way the new waitress had handled everything. She arrived early, prepared for another busy day, her calm and confident demeanor unchanged. She greeted everyone politely and began her tasks with focus, ready to navigate whatever the day might bring. The wealthy man entered shortly after opening. His presence was familiar now, but his attention was more thoughtful than before. He had observed the waitress over several days and had gained a deep respect for her intelligence, composure, and professionalism. He decided that today he would speak with her not as a challenge or a test, but as someone genuinely interested in understanding her. He wanted to acknowledge the impact she had made, both on him and on the restaurant. The morning passed with the usual flow of customers. The waitress moved gracefully between tables, taking orders, refilling drinks, and ensuring each guest felt attended to. Her ability to remember preferences, anticipate needs, and manage multiple tasks simultaneously continued to impress both staff and patrons. Even small mishaps, like spilled drinks or delayed orders, were handled with calm efficiency, turning potential frustrations into moments of satisfaction. The wealthy man observed quietly, noting how her actions created a smooth, pleasant experience for everyone around her. Around midday, a particularly complicated situation arose. A large party arrived unexpectedly, and their orders were diverse and detailed. The kitchen was already busy, and the staff were under pressure. The waitress stepped in immediately, coordinating with the chef and her colleagues to organize the orders efficiently. She spoke with the customers, explaining wait times politely and ensuring that each dish would be served accurately. Her calm demeanor reassured both the team and the guests. The party left highly satisfied, and several thanked her personally, praising her patience and professionalism. The wealthy man watched the entire interaction, deeply impressed by her ability to manage pressure with such grace. Afterward, he called her over to his table. She approached with a polite smile, ready to listen. He began by complimenting her on how she had handled the busy morning and the unexpected party with ease. She thanked him simply, acknowledging the compliment without any hint of pride. Her humility and poise continued to leave a strong impression on him. He then asked her about her background and the experiences that had helped her develop such remarkable qualities. She spoke openly, explaining that she had faced challenges in her life that taught her resilience, patience, and problem-solving skills. She emphasized that every experience, no matter how difficult, had contributed to her growth and her ability to handle challenges calmly and effectively. Her words were simple yet meaningful, reflecting a depth of understanding and self-awareness that resonated with the wealthy man. He listened attentively, realizing that she had taught him a valuable lesson, that true intelligence and capability were not defined by social status, wealth, or position. They could be found in anyone who approached life with thoughtfulness, humility, and a willingness to learn. He admired her not just for her quick thinking or her professional skills, but for the way she approached every situation with kindness, respect, and composure. Throughout the afternoon, more customers arrived, and the restaurant grew busier. The waitress continued to manage her tasks with precision and calm, ensuring that every guest was attended to. Even during the most hectic moments, she remained composed, never showing signs of stress or frustration. Her ability to maintain focus and efficiency under pressure continued to impress everyone, including the wealthy man. He began to realize that her intelligence was matched by her emotional strength, her patience, and her ability to inspire confidence in those around her. Later in the day, a minor crisis occurred when an order was mixed up, and a customer became frustrated. The waitress approached the situation calmly, listening carefully to the customer's concerns and offering a solution that resolved the issue quickly. Her approach diffused tension and turned a potentially negative experience into a positive one. The wealthy man observed quietly, recognizing the value of her composure and problem-solving skills. It was clear that her impact extended beyond simply completing tasks efficiently. She improved the overall atmosphere and experience for everyone in the restaurant. As the day began to wind down, the wealthy man decided to take one final moment to speak with her. He called her over and asked her to sit for a few minutes. She complied politely, her curiosity evident but her demeanor calm. He began by expressing his sincere admiration for her abilities, highlighting the way she handled challenges, maintained composure, and treated everyone with respect. He acknowledged that he had initially thought he could test her, perhaps even expose her limitations, but she had exceeded his expectations in every way. She listened quietly, her humility intact, and thanked him for his kind words. He continued, explaining that her actions had changed his perspective on people and their potential. He admitted that he had often judged individuals based on their roles or appearances, but she had shown him that true talent, intelligence, and character could be found in anyone, regardless of status or position. Her professionalism, intelligence, and humility had left a lasting impression on him. The conversation shifted to the future. The wealthy man expressed his desire to support and encourage individuals like her, recognizing that their abilities deserved recognition and opportunity. He spoke about possibilities for growth, learning, and new experiences that could be available to her if she chose to pursue them. She listened thoughtfully, considering the options, and expressed her gratitude for his acknowledgement and encouragement. Her focus remained on her work, but she appreciated the recognition of her skills and character. As the evening approached, the restaurant began to close, and the staff worked together to clean up and prepare for the next day. The waitress completed her shift with the same calm and composed manner she had demonstrated throughout the day. The wealthy man left another generous tip, a silent acknowledgement of her exceptional work and the lessons she had shared through her actions. He walked away with a renewed perspective, reminded that intelligence, composure, and humility could be found in unexpected places, and that respect for people should always be based on their qualities rather than their position. The events of the day became a topic of quiet discussion among the staff, who admired her ability to handle challenges, maintain composure, and treat everyone with respect. Her actions continued to inspire and influence those around her. For the wealthy man, it was a lasting lesson in humility, observation, and the value of character. For the waitress, it was a confirmation that her dedication, intelligence, and humility could make a meaningful impact even in ordinary settings. The story concluded with a sense of accomplishment, mutual respect, and the understanding that true capability and character shine through actions, not titles or status, leaving an impression that lasts far beyond a single moment.